Hello, BookThinkers family. Have you ever heard anybody say, this book is worth its weight in gold? Well, that's how I feel about these four right here. So today I'm going to be talking about Russell Brunson and my conversation with him. But first, I wanted to highlight these books for you. So this is Dotcom Secrets. This is Expert Secrets. This is Traffic Secrets. And then if you buy this box set, you get a workbook, which is Unlock the Secrets. In preparation for my conversation with Russell, I read this one. It's the first book in the series. It's called Dotcom Secrets, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The subtitle is The Underground Playbook for Growing Your Company Online with Sales Funnels. Now, I read 45 sales books prior to my conversation with Russell and prior to reading this book, and I had never once read about sales funnels. And I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, it truly is an underground playbook. It's something that most entrepreneurs don't know about. And I found that funny because he's sold hundreds of thousands of copies of these books, but I didn't know about it. And so I was way outside of the loop. Now, in preparation, like I said, for my conversation with Russell, I wanted to really dive into this book. So I read every single word and I studied it. It took me a couple weeks. I reflected on it. And what I came to realize was that this is one of the most underrated sales books I've ever come across. Russell is truly a sales and marketing genius, and I truly mean that. I'm not just trying to pump this up for the podcast that I put out. So I'll start off by using a metaphor that I talked about with Russell, which I thought was really funny, and it came directly from the book. He was a wrestler when he was younger, and sort of still is, and I was a wrestler. He was 50 times better than I ever was, but that's okay. I can accept defeat there. Russell was great. And so in wrestling, most of the successful wrestlers, in fact, almost all of successful wrestlers, use just a couple of moves. They're the foundational moves, the moves that you learn on day one that everybody knows, but they're very, very good at using those moves on the mat. And so what happens in wrestling is you end up going to wrestling camps to meet fantastic wrestlers. And whenever you're at camps, you learn camp moves. They're crazy. You'd never really use them, would you? But most people end up getting tricked into using them. And so when they're on the mat, somebody who uses a wrestling camp move, something that's crazy and outlandish, it's not a foundational principle of wrestling. It's just way out there. They always lose to the wrestlers that use the foundational moves that are really, really good at them. And so in business, this happens all the time. There are certain foundations that you need to be very, very good at in order to sell or market or execute a business. But what happens is, oftentimes books preach these crazy, outlandish things. 3 steps to become a millionaire in 2 days, this crazy technique of selling or something like that. And you get hooked into these, but you'll lose if you use those compared to the business owners that are actually executing on the foundational principles of business. And so that was a really interesting thing that I learned about this book. Russell took what I thought was the foundation of selling and he kind of flipped it on its head a little bit. And he taught me some things that I didn't truly understand. And so now I'll read a little quote from Russell that I think is pretty valuable. It's right out of the beginning of the book. Russell says, quote, "I looked back at the audience and said, you have to understand there are 2 ways to have the lowest priced product in your market. The first is to decrease the price of what you sell and cut out your margins and profit. The second is to increase the value so much that when you sell it for what it's worth, it seems inexpensive." And that's what this book taught me to do. When you stack things together and you're able to quantify the value of those things in the form of dollars and cents, then you actually present the price. If the value is 10 times more than what the price actually is, you'll close sales all day long. But we never are taught to sell this way. We're always taught to say, hey, this is going to make you $1 million, buy it. Never, hey, this is how much this is worth because of X, because of Y, because of Z. When it's all summed up together, it's worth $1 million, but I'm only asking 1,000. And so I thought that was a fun way to sell. But what Russell does in this book is 5,000 times more valuable than that. He teaches you how to sell using sales funnels. And so at the highest level, and I'm still not great at describing sales funnels, it almost seems that nobody is, a sales funnel is sort of like a customer experience. When somebody is interested in what you're doing, capture their contact information in the form of an email. Once you have their email, offer them some stuff for free. If they take advantage of what you're offering for free, then a certain portion of those people, probably a small amount, might want to move on to the next step in your value ladder. And so now that you have their contact information, and now that they've taken advantage of your free offering, offer them something inexpensive that is super valuable for the price that you're offering. And so a certain portion of people will take advantage of that. Now you have a new group of people to market to, people that have taken a couple steps up your value ladder. Now you can market or sell something that's a little bit more expensive. Maybe it's a webinar, maybe it's a live event, maybe it's a ticket, maybe it's a free, not a free course, but maybe it's a course online or a more expensive book, whatever it is. And now a certain number of people are going to buy that. Now you have another group of people that you can upsell. And a cool rule of upsell and a cool metaphor is that you never want to sell the same thing to somebody. If somebody buys a course on how to get six-pack abs, you don't want to sell them six-pack abs again because you've already quenched their thirst. You've already sold them on the fact that they now have six-pack abs. So now you need to offer something different. It's like when you buy a car. Now you've created a new need. What do they need? They need gas. They need car insurance. They need X, Y, and Z, maybe an accessory for their car. They don't need another car. And so that's another thing that people always fail to do in sales. And so as you're climbing up that ladder, you're always offering something different because every time they buy, you've created a new need that needs to be quenched, a thirst that needs to be quenched. And so I love that metaphor. And as you're climbing up, you're only selling to people who have taken more action. So you have a higher chance of closing and you're not just berating everybody who gave you their contact information. And so there is an art to doing this. It's something that I'm still learning a lot about. I probably did a poor job in explaining it, but what I wanted to convey today is how excited I am to read these other two books and to go through the workbook. I am now a disciple of Russell. I had a super great conversation with him, and he is a very genuine person. He means well. He wants to create businesses and help entrepreneurs who want to do right, which is to provide value to other people, and in return, they get paid for doing that. And you always want to provide more value than what you're asking in payment. And that's a great rule that I learned from The Go-Giver by Bob Burg and John David Mann, another one of my favorite books. And so I'd highly encourage that you check this out. You can actually get it for free. And so I'll post something in my story about that. And I'll also post something in the show notes of the podcast that I'm going to put out with Russell. So make sure you tune in and check that out. And I hope you enjoyed the video today.